Complex carbohydrates. What are the three that I list here? Starch, glycogen, and fiber. Any surprises there about those three complex carbohydrates? Is that sort of what you thought would be complex carbohydrates? Okay, first, starch. It's also called amylose, and it's in any food that is a seed or is made from a seed. So what would be some foods that would qualify as being either a seed or made from a seed? Well, fruits really, when you eat a fruit, you're not eating the seed generally. You might eat one or two, by mistake, but that's not really what you want to do. Nuts might be a seed. Flour. What's the seed? Wheat. And I think I probably own the only pair of these earrings in the whole world. They're little containers. You don't need to zoom in because I have a zoomed in picture of these in a slideshow, but they're little seeds of wheat. And these seeds are ground up to make flour. And certainly many people eat wheat flour in many, many foods. What are some of the ways that you might eat wheat flour? Pardon? Breads? One of breads. Cereal. Many cereals are wheat-based. Pasta. Cakes. Beer. I swear, you two, I see why you're sitting together. What is that you're drinking in your water bottle? So, cake, bread, pasta. There was a fourth thing. Cereal, crackers. It's in all. We eat wheat a lot. But there are other foods that are made from seeds, like oatmeal. When you eat oatmeal, that's the seed of the oat plant. Sunflower seeds, sesame seeds. How about a kidney bean? That's the seed of the bean plant. So that would have, all of those have starch. So what would starch look like? So it is a chain of what? Do I define it there?
A chain of glucose.
It's many glucoses chained together or bonded together. So I'm not as good at this as Tina is. I mean, you would think drawing a circle and filling it in would be easy. Boom. I don't have enough paper. But I'm going to say maybe 300 more, maybe thousands more. And what is this? Starch. So it's a long chain of glucose molecules bonded together. Why does a plant need to make starch?
Is that where it stores?
To store,
Energy.
well, to store glucose so that it has the energy when it wants to do what? Reproduce or sprout. When a plant needs energy to grow, it makes glucose by photosynthesis and then breaks it apart. But once it's interested in reproducing, it stores some of that glucose, usually some place where it can't use it anymore. Once starch is in a seed, that corn plant or that wheat plant itself can't use it. But when that seed drops to the ground, goes into the ground, gets some warmth and some water, that starch begins breaking down to glucose. The glucose breaks down, and it has the energy it needs to begin building a new plant. And I'll show you what the sprout might look like. And I'll show you it's from one seed, just one of these. There's 10 or 15 wheat seeds in each of these earrings, and just one of those, when it sprouts, begins a new plant. It makes some root structure, makes a leaf, and then once the leaf goes up above ground, that's when photosynthesis starts. Why is it good for us to eat foods with starch? For which kind of, what part of our body needs that energy?
Brain.
For our brain. Right, Bo. The brain supplies energy for the brain, maltose. How much starch is in a serving of this manna bread? And this is something that you do on your study questions. Can you tell? You can.
Would it be 13 grams? 13?
Yeah, it would be 13 grams. How did you get that, Tina?
Well, the only other starch besides the fiber and the sugars sugar besides the fiber and the sugar.
Yeah, you're correct, but you're doing what I do often, tripping over your explanation. So the total carbohydrate in this manna bread is 26 grams. What are the three kinds of carbohydrate?
Starch, fiber, and sugar.
Starch, fiber, and sugar. So it tells you the fiber. So 26 minus 4 is 22. And then it also tells you the sugar. So 22 minus 9 is 13. So maybe someday, probably not in my lifetime, definitely not in my lifetime, labels will tell you starch. But pretty much they don't want to brag about their starch. Starch just cannot get a good name.
Well, the starch is also the combination of the sugar and fiber.
No, it isn't.
It's not?
The starch is something different. What you get from that starch is glucose. But what they're saying is in this, the carbohydrates that are there are fiber, sugars all by themselves. This is just the maltose. Then the third kind of carbohydrate that's there is starch. When you eat that starch, you get something else from it as a result of digestion.
So it just is coincidence that that worked out to the
It
same
is
math on that
coincidence
one.
for this one that it's 13 and 13. So we take the 26, subtract 4, and get 22, and then get the 9. And what is this for?
Fiber.
The fiber. And what is this 9? The sugar.
So if someone is not like diabetic or doing like an Atkins type diet, what would be the advantage of figuring what the starch is, what the amount of starch is in the food?
I don't think there is an advantage, but I have you do it just so that you realize what starch is there. That there's sugar there, there's fiber there, what the label is telling you, then the difference is the starch. And so you can begin also doing some of those computations if you're interested in just seeing, here's starch, here is not much starch. Next time you have a chance to do this, put your finger in cornstarch. Does it taste sweet? No. It does not taste sweet. Does it have glucose in it? Yes. But that glucose has to be digested by the body, so it reacts in your body in a different way than if you were to do straight glucose. sugars and starch react in cooking differently. Can you take that chicken broth and add sugar to it to thicken it? How much sugar do you have to add to a liquid to thicken it? Tons, tons. So they react in cooking differently, they react in your body differently. Even though when they're digested, they can end up being the same thing. So do fruits have much starch?
No.
No. What do they have instead?
Sugar.
Sugar to attract. That apple, its main mission is not, well, it's interested in reproducing, but what you're eating is not the reproductive part of the apple. You're eating the sweet part of the apple. So when you eat an apple, you don't get much in the way of starch, because the starch is in the seed, and when you eat an apple, you either don't eat the seeds or maybe you eat one or two. And even if you do end up eating the seeds of an apple, what happens to those seeds?
Sewer system.
Into the sewer system. So it's difficult for us to digest them. So H, what does the human body need to do to the starch in food before anything gets into our blood? Break it down. And that enzyme, exactly, Tim, is amylase. And amylase is written right at the top. By starch.